All right, we have some breaking news right after Prime Day on Amazon. And well, on this channel, we don't really dive too deep into all of the other platforms, but Amazon is one of the big ones. And it's definitely something that we want to look into. And also, we want to see what does this mean for e-commerce sellers now, but also in the future. And was it successful? I mean, they've been doing Prime Days now for years. Are they still successful? And what do e-commerce sellers really need to understand about what just happened with Prime Day, but also what they can expect in the future for sales, but also for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and was Prime Day what it was all cracked up to be? So Chris Schaefer has got the news, and he's going to actually break it down for us and give us some real numbers because they just came out. So we're going to go ahead and dive into what actually happened after the dust has settled with Amazon Prime Day. So Chris, what you got for us today?
Oh, we got all kinds of stuff. And Scott, I got to ask, because I bought a few things that I kind of had pegged in my cart. I'm curious if you grabbed anything while it was on doorbuster discounts or whatever they're calling them these days.
I did. I didn't go crazy. It wasn't like I was shopping before Christmas, but yeah, there was a few things that I had already planned on purchasing. And I was like, oh, limited deal. Yeah, I'll go ahead and do it. And I think I saved like $5. You know what I mean? It wasn't like crazy. Now last year, I do remember though, I bought a ring for Scotty for Christmas. I did it in July because I knew I wanted to get him something that he had mentioned it. I'm like, oh, I'll get it. It was like $50 off a ring. I'm like, definitely do it. So there's definitely, I think there's definitely people out there, including myself, that would be like, okay, I'm going to buy on that day. I don't know if I'd wait like a month for it though. You know, like, I don't think I'm going to wait and kind of hold out.
And that was kind of my feeling with it. And I think I operate the same way, like Black Friday, Cyber Monday. I already know what I'm going to get. I know what my big purchases are coming up. And if it happens to go on sale at that time, then I'm going to jump on it. Right. Like one of the things I've been looking at for a while and just didn't feel like buying because it was over that $100 price point, right? Where I'm just like, I don't really need it right now, was a portable shampooer, right? For like sofas and mattresses and those kinds of things. Cause you know, with 2.5 dogs, that becomes something that you want to make sure you're cleaning deeply, right? Like anything they're up on, anything like that. And I was like, you know, I'll wait until the next time I'm in the States, or I'll wait until it goes on sale. And I happened to see it was like 35 or 40% off for Prime Day. And I was like, well, I'm probably not going to get a better deal than that. So I might as well. And I saved $40 and it's already on the way. Right. So
there you
go.
Why
not?
There you go. And all right, so let's just get into it, Chris. I want to know, like, was this successful? Was it not successful? You know, and also for anyone that's here that's like selling on other platforms, eBay, Etsy, you know, any of them, you know, what does this mean, and what can we really draw from this or learn from this? You know, these big events that happen.
Yeah. So first things first, Scott, why does Amazon do Prime Day? Like, why did it become a thing? I think it was 2015, if I remember correctly, was the first one. Yeah. And as far as I remember, it was because they needed to create a sales event, right? January, because you have the holiday hangover, and July for e-commerce businesses are the slowest time of the year. Guys, give me a shout out in the comments if you've watched sales go like this over the last few weeks. And the reason for that is, and it's not just e-commerce, Scott, this happens in business to business businesses. It happens all over in the business world because everybody's going on vacation, right? Kids, at least in North America, are out of school. Everybody's going on their summer holidays. They're gone for a few weeks. And so they're not in the normal buying behavior. Amazon said, hey, if we have this dip right here in July, if we can do anything to start to recover a little bit faster, start the traffic, start the sales developing in July, then that'll probably work out, even if we have to take a little bit of a hit on the fees, all of those kinds of things, right? So I think it was 2015 is when they rolled out the first one. They said, we're going to do all these doorbuster deals. And if you remember correctly, Scott, it was all like the Amazon branded stuff. The first year, they were like, we're going to give you 99.9% off on an Amazon Fire Stick. You want a Fire tablet? You can have a Fire tablet. Here you go, right? They turned into Amazon's version of Oprah and just started throwing Amazon products at everybody. And they realized that with the traffic, that third-party sellers who still make up the vast majority of the Amazon website were capturing additional sales as well. And so the next year and every year since then, they've expanded it out And if you want to be in some of their special lightning deals and stuff, you have to volunteer as early as like February and March now to be guaranteed a spot. And you have to give whatever discount they suggest. You have to comply with a lot of their rules. But the real reason behind all of this over the last, 9 years at this point, makes me feel real old all of a sudden, is because they were trying to drive extra sales and traffic. And at the beginning of the week, Scott, we were seeing a lot of articles like this one here from Vox, who said, hey, Prime Day isn't just for Amazon anymore. And is it past its prime? Right? You got to love the great little subtitles there when writers can get in their snarky thoughts in different places. And basically what Vox was saying was, hey, everybody is doing this now, right? TikTok shops at the beginning of July, Scott, and I don't know if you know this, did what they called deals for you. And they ran that from the 9th through the 11th. And Target was doing some things this year. Etsy didn't do anything this year, above and beyond. They did just do a big Father's Day push, right? They did some things in June, but most of the other platforms did something around Prime Day. So Vox was saying, hey, this is not going to be nearly as big as it's been in the past, because when there's always a sale, is anything actually on sale?
Yeah,
and
that's a good point.
Yeah. No, if your price is always the same. And I think that's why we're seeing, especially places like Amazon, the products that are always on a Prime Day deal or always on a lightning deal, they have a deeper discount than they normally do. And what Vox was saying at the beginning of the week was basically, it used to be bigger, right? They got a bunch of super smart people like the consumer intelligence research partners to come out and say, hey, it used to be bigger. People are used to it now. Well, yeah, they say that every year about Black Friday and Cyber Monday too, right? Yep. Like Black Friday has been a thing forever. Cyber Monday's been a thing for 20-ish years now at this point. And yet it still drives huge spikes in traffic and sales for people. So they were saying at the beginning of the week, basically, that this isn't going to be as big of a deal this year, even if you have things like Le Creuset Dutch ovens for 70% off. It's just not going to be a big deal because everyone now is an Amazon competitor. And this is something I wanted to chat with you about for just a second, right? You and I have been talking about the rise of Temu, the rise of TikTok, the rise of Shein, all these other competitors outside of like the Etsy's and the eBays and the Walmart.com type of places. And so if everybody is doing this, does it water it down, or does it matter because people are still just looking for that deal? What are your thoughts on that? If everybody's a competitor, does this still give Amazon a competitive advantage?
I think, okay. So, but Amazon is just like the biggest, like, right. It's like the big one, right? Like it's the one everyone wants to be like. That's like Temu. That's what they're trying to do. I think if each platform has its own, it can still be very, very powerful. And I think like Etsy, they should get behind this and start their own. Don't call it Prime Day, call it something else day, right? It could be like Made for You Day or something like that, right? And then that would be every year they would do it for 2 days, just like Amazon does. And I think that they could do really, really well. Same thing with Walmart, right? Like maybe Walmart does their own on top of Black Friday, Cyber Monday. I mean, let's face it, people are going to do they're still going to shop on Black Friday and Cyber Monday, and every business is still going to run a sale on Black Friday and Cyber Monday because that's what everybody's expecting. They've already been trained. But now if you train your customers, okay, like Amazon has done, and then they advertise it for weeks before, it's going to do well. It's going to do well. It doesn't matter if, oh, well, Etsy did one and Amazon did one. No, it's going to let people know, hey, on these days in the summer, Etsy runs a special. I mean, they can do Christmas in July, right? And all of a sudden you can have a spike in sales and then again, do it again in Black Friday. So I think that it's not more competition unless everyone's doing it on the same exact day, which Black Friday they are. But if you have your own exclusive, I think it's a huge opportunity for these platforms. And I don't know why Etsy isn't getting behind it to kind of really solidify their, and I thought we just had a comment come in. What was it? Gift day. Yeah, gift day, right? That'd be great. Like gift day. And you'd have like 2 days maybe, right? You would do it kind of like how Amazon just did it. I think that's a great idea. So hopefully Josh Silverman is listening in. I doubt it, but yeah.
Well, and I think that's the thing that Vox missed out on in that article is like, okay, everybody does Black Friday. That doesn't mean it's not still effective.
Exactly.
Is the same Black Friday thing that was effective in 2002 when you had a $5 flat screen still effective?
Right.
No, but there's still a heightened expectation that there are going to be good deals on that day. And you and I have talked about this in the past, Scott, about we don't even have to do anything for Black Friday because people assume that everything is on sale, right? So if you get traffic to your store, they're going to convert at a higher rate because they're already in buying mode. And I think one of the things that's really interesting about that perspective, and we'll dive into the numbers here in just a minute, is I think they missed out on the fact that like Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Small Business Saturday, all of those things carry through across all the different brands. And so Amazon has already done the hard work, right? They've spent 9 years and probably billions of dollars over those 9 years advertising. How many times have you seen a Prime Day TV commercial, right? Yes, technically it's about Amazon Prime members and they're celebrating Prime members, right? That's the reason they tell everybody. The real reason is sales suck, right? In July. And so they want to drive up those numbers and they want to clear out their warehouses so that as people are sending in all that Q4 inventory, they have room at the Amazon warehouses, right? They're solving two problems. But now that they've done that, why can't we piggyback off of it? And that's, Scott, that to me is the reason we see other people doing things in the middle of July, right? Amazon was the pioneer. They created the awareness that, hey, sometimes really cool things happen in July. So now we're seeing Target, Walmart, TikTok, Temu, and unfortunately not somebody like Etsy doing it. But we also saw a lot of small businesses doing promotions around Prime Day. They didn't call it Prime Day, but they were saying, hey, like go get our stuff. And as a result of that, we saw what came out today from Digital Commerce 360. And I'm going to pull that up. And what they're saying is Prime Day is creating a halo around small businesses. Are you able to see that, Scott? I'm not seeing that on my side.
I just added it in now. There you go.
Okay. And so what is happening is that exactly what you and I were just talking about happened on Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Small businesses outside of the Amazon ecosystem are seeing this lift as well. Why? Because they're already in a buying mode. They go back to that list of, hey, here's the things I've kind of been looking at. Is something on sale, or does it appear that it's on sale, or am I just in that mode? And even though Vox said it's not as big as it used to be, Prime Day on Amazon itself, Scott, did $7.2 billion this year, which is an 11.7% increase, right? That to me not just sounds a little bit bigger, that sounds a lot bigger, right? Who wouldn't be in a 2-day sale happy with an 11% increase across the site? And it's almost a 12% increase when we really start to look at it. I don't know about you, but I'll take $7.2 billion or an 11% increase on anything that I'm doing any day of the week. Now, is that net revenue? No, that's gross revenue, right? But Amazon's looking at fees. That's the real revenue back to Amazon itself. And so if we're seeing that type of growth, what does it look like for other people? The other thing here, Scott, that really stuck out to me was the mobile traffic. And this is something everybody's going to want to keep in mind for Q4, right? They said the first 24 hours also marked the biggest mobile shopping day of the year so far, which is probably the biggest mobile shopping day ever, right? The Prime Day effect, as Commerce 360 is calling this, contributed 3.5 billion in mobile spending. So almost half, 49.3, came from mobile devices. And what does that say to you, Scott, about what people need to be doing for Q4 this year?
Yeah.
No matter what platform they're on or if they're selling on their own website, what do people need to be focused on given how big of a change this is?
Yeah, you need to be focusing on your mobile optimization. So like if you're doing all your editing on desktop or even just your listing creation, it's one thing to then review it, but you should review it on your mobile device because, and I really think that, and I don't think they do yet, but Etsy should have some type of mobile version so you can kind of preview it to see what it looks like in that. I know a lot of website platforms allow you to do this, but the easiest way to do it is just go to your phone and go over even in an incognito window if you want, and then just pull up your shop and then see how things are looking, see how things are, the images are looking. Are they clear enough? Are they big enough? Are they, because also there's different features that are also built in to Etsy that you're getting access to that you wouldn't necessarily get access to on desktop. So that's the big obvious one for me is like, make sure you're optimizing for mobile.
And I think, especially if you're selling on a platform, and somebody just said in the comments, hey, you can preview in your web browser too. That's great. But if somebody has an app, and I think Amazon and Etsy are very different in terms of the experience and what you see. So doing a mobile preview would show what it would look like if somebody went to Etsy.com on mobile or Amazon.com on mobile, but it won't show you what it looks like inside of the app itself. And the only way to do that really is either have some sort of fancy tool that shows you what the mobile app looks like, right? Or just go to the mobile app, type in the name of your product, and look at what that mobile experience is like. And we've seen this grow. I mean, I remember just a few years ago, Scott, mobile traffic and mobile sales was only 25, 30%. And we were saying, you got to look at mobile, man. Now it's 50%. And it's because it's so easy to buy from these platforms now, especially from your mobile device. That's where I got my thing. I was sitting in the bathroom and I went, I wonder what's on sale for Prime Day. Went, looked at my list, one-click checkout right from my phone. It was a productive time, right? As opposed to coming to the computer, looking at everything. So we're starting to see that massively increase. Scott, the other thing I wanted to point out for people, and this is something I think we'll loop in to some of what's going to be happening in Q4 and what people need to look out for, is what they were calling that Prime Day effect, right? They talked about the mobile traffic growth. They talked about the 11.7% growth. But the thing that was really interesting to me is that overall web traffic for US and Canadian online retailers, so websites, e-commerce websites, went up 4% year over year for the 2 days of Amazon Prime Day. And I think this was actually just in the first 24 hours that they saw that increase. And that's reported to them by Adobe, by Salesforce, by a bunch of different people who host all of the different e-commerce websites. They were saying, hey, because of this, we're seeing this increase. So you are getting that halo effect that you and I were talking about. And they're saying outside of Amazon, we saw 3% growth year over year just from that existing traffic in the US and 4% growth in Canada. So between 3 and 4% growth on your website or outside of Amazon, right? Other places you might be selling your product, be it Etsy, eBay, wherever, you're seeing that additional effect as well. And I think that really pulls me in, Scott, to what people need to understand for Q4. And the first thing for me, and I know we talked about this in a live stream just a few days ago, was you got to start planning now.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I know we're July 19th. Prime Day just ended. We're not anywhere close to Q4. Why is it so important to start thinking about this stuff right now?
Well, there's a couple different reasons that I can just right off the top of my head think of. And like the first thing is because we want to start getting our products indexed. We want to start getting them in search. So when the search traffic comes, we're there and we're not waiting because the algorithm has to still index us and find us. And, so that's why we want to get that stuff all done beforehand. The other thing that we need to do, and I'm glad that you brought this up, Chris, is because, we focus on these days like Prime Day, which is a great thing, right? Amazon is giving, e-commerce sellers a huge opportunity here to get in front of all of that traffic. Etsy's done some things in the past too, where they run like a 30%, like, if you want to be part of it, you can get in. I don't think it's as big, and I don't mean as big as like revenue, even because it's not, but it's not as built up to this 2-day event. But I would say this is my big takeaway that I want people to really understand. Like when you build up the excitement for an event, it usually does a lot better. And so what I would say with the planning piece, and we talked about this on a live we did the other day, is start planning out your promos now and then start letting your audience or your customers know when you are going to be doing this thing. Don't just all of a sudden say, I want to run a flash sale this Friday. And then on Friday you go, hey guys, it's a flash sale. Like, that's cool. You'll probably get some sales, but wouldn't it be better if you say, hey, on August 15th, we're going to be doing Christmas in August, and we're going to do a special whatever for 2 days only. If you want to get a head start on your shopping, be ready, right? And if you drop that in there, now, how do you do that? Well, obviously, if you have an email list, that's how I'm thinking that you're going to be able to do this. If you don't have an email list, you need to start building an email list, and you need to start capitalizing on that like as soon as possible. If you need help in that area, we have an email guide that walks you through building an email list and using the email list. If you want a copy of that in the comments, just put email and we'll make sure that we get you that guide. But that's the big thing for me, Chris, is like, we want to optimize our listings beforehand. So that way it's ready for the search traffic when it's there. And then we want to start planning our promotions. And then we want to not just spring the promotion out there on our audience. We want to prep them and let them know something's coming, when the date is, excited, show them some behind the scenes stuff maybe. And then boom, 2 days, you really push hard in those 2 days. And then at the end of the 2 days, it's over with, right? And I think if people would just take what Amazon's doing and use that within their own business at different times of the year, you could see a huge spike in your sales.
Yeah, and I think the first thing that sticks out to me there, Scott, and I know we hammered on this, and if you guys have missed that, we'll link up that live down in the comments where we talked about exactly how we would get ready. It pertains a little bit more to the Etsy side of things, but the basic principles hold. And the reason we're talking about planning now is because once we get into Q4, Scott, things come really hot and heavy, right? People might not remember this is Prime Day Prime, right? The original Prime Day happens in July, but a few years ago, Amazon added in one in October. And I think last year they called it early Black Friday, something like that, right?
Something like that, yeah.
That is really what kicked everything off in Q4. So if we're not planning now, we're not sitting down, looking at the calendar saying, okay, sometime around the middle of October. Last year, I think it was like the 10th or the 11th. This year, it'll probably be Monday the 14th, I think is a Monday. Whatever that next kind of week is, it'll be a few days later probably than it was last year, just because I think there's some federal holidays and stuff that fall in there that they typically don't want to step on. But if we're sitting down now, we're saying, okay, it's the middle of July. We have until October to get everything ready and to get everything mapped out. Because once we get into Q4, Scott, we are in product fulfillment, customer service, pulling back marketing mode potentially. And so if we start planning now, that lets us say, okay, I'm definitely going to do something to take advantage of the halo around early Black Friday or Prime Day 2, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to definitely do something to take advantage of what I'm just calling discount weekend now, which is Black Friday through Cyber Monday, right? It's Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, Cyber Monday, and sold stuff just because I can Sunday, I guess. But if we plan at least those two things, and then I think the third one, and this is where I think a lot of people miss out, Scott, is if they're looking at what I'm just going to start calling last call shipping day, right? So somewhere around that middle point in December where we start to see some shipping cutoffs, some of those kinds of things to make sure that things arrive in time for Christmas. The Arrive for Christmas sale is another good excuse for people coming in Q4 to drive that traffic. And even if you're not doing something specifically, Etsy is going to be sending out emails to people saying, hey, the last day for guaranteed shipping is this. Amazon does the same thing, although since they have 2-day shipping on just about everything, that comes out a little bit later, right? But if we start planning those things out now, then we can start to backwards engineer what we need to do. And I think we definitely need to do, Scott, what you and I talked about, which is double check how everything looks on mobile. And if we start with those two things, then we can figure out, are we going to launch more products between now and then? Right? If I'm using a platform, if I don't have, just a static e-commerce website with 5 to 10 products that I offer all the time, if I'm using something like Etsy and I'm doing print on demand, do I have the time, energy, and bandwidth to launch more products? We still have time to get in that product research, product creation, all of those kinds of things in before we get into the Q4 madness. And I know we were joking, I think it was on Wednesday, that we might have to do a mental health live stream the first or second week of January just to check in and make sure that everybody's okay after everything that happens in Q4. So I think now is definitely the time to start planning for it. And if we take the lessons that we just learned from Prime Day, we can say, hey, even if we're not going to participate in Black Friday, we're not going to do a Cyber Monday sale, we do need to plan for it. And we need to pay attention to the fact that even if our chosen platform isn't doing something massive, we are going to see an increase in traffic. We are going to see an increase in sales. And it's something we should be taking advantage of because it's essentially free traffic coming in for us because it's already there and they're already willing to buy. Am I missing anything there?
No, I think it's perfect. I wanted to do this today with you because, yes, we're not just talking about Prime Day, although that was the thing that just happened. And you can see the billions of dollars that had been generated from them doing a special event. And so what I think for people that are e-commerce sellers that are like, all right, that was great. Now what? Okay. Well, you should learn from what they just did, right? And they did good marketing leading up to an event. And so that's why I'm saying, and it doesn't mean you can only do one a year. You can sit there, like Chris was saying, like maybe as you get closer, it's going to be the cutoff that if you want to get it before Christmas, you have to get in on this date. So you want to start letting people know that. How do you do that? You do need a way to let people know, unless you're going to pay for advertising. And I mean, pay for advertising. If you went and ran Facebook ads and, told people that, in your shop, you're only going to, you're going to have to a certain date before you can receive it, but you're not going to want to do that. But what you do want to do is you want to get the right people on your email list, either customers or people that are interested in your niche, and then let them know, hey, this weekend, or, maybe whatever the day is, like, let's just say 2 weekends from now, we're going to be doing a Christmas in August. So you can get a head start it's going to be a 2-day event. And you give them at least a week's notice. I would say even more if you can, but a week's notice. And then you talk about it leading up to it, and maybe some of the specials, maybe some of the products, like whatever. And then that way the day that it goes live, you're going to have a really good influx of sales and traffic. So that's the big thing I want people to kind of take away, is the lesson that you learn from a big powerhouse like Amazon that just did billions of dollars from bringing up this attention when there's not a lot of sales in July. Like that's typically a bad month.
It's the slowest, if not the second slowest month of the year. Cause like we said, everybody's on vacation. And so on big days like this, Scott, I wanted to have a discussion on 2 different points with you. And I know we have a bunch of people asking some things in the chat, and we'll get to that here in a minute. Are discounts the only way to take advantage of days like Prime Day, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, right? Because that's one of the questions we get all the time is like, well, if everybody's discounting, and Vox even asked it in that article, is that if it's always on sale, is it ever on sale, right? Mm-hmm. If everybody's doing a discount and I can't afford to do a discount, or I just don't want to do a discount, is there another way that we can take advantage of that traffic? Or do we have to just slash prices?
No, I mean, let's face it, like these deals like Prime Day, it's all around price. So yes, that's going to be your biggest driver. Okay. But can you do stuff like add a bonus in where, hey, if you get our, I don't know, maybe our cutting board, right? Well, maybe you're going to get a cookbook along with it, a digital cookbook or something, right? Like you could do that. Or if you have another product that's a low cost and you wanted to ship one of those too, that's a bonus, right? But again, if you're going to give away something and it's not digital, it's going to cost you something. So then my thought would be like, well, why not just discount your price from what your retail price is, absorb some of that or take some of that hit on the profit, and know that in your shop, you probably got other products. So now we're talking about, and this is why it's so important to have more than just one item that person can buy, and preferably more than one on the same product kind of line. Okay. Like I'll give you an example. I bought a pair of shorts that I've been looking at, and I bought those shorts, but then I added another set because I'm like, well, if I'm going to do them, I'm going to buy them together because, well, I'm going to save $5 a pair of shorts. So why not buy them both at the same time? Right. When if they didn't have that other pair of shorts or the color that I liked, I wouldn't have bought them and they wouldn't have gotten that extra sale. So that's one thing to keep in mind. But I also think this is a great time to also think to yourself, this is how I can build my customer base so I can get more sales in the future when I'm not running these steep discounts. So yeah, also think about it as a long-term play, not just a short-term play.
Yeah, and I think you just mentioned 2 things that people tend to overlook because they always say, "Oh, Black Friday, it's the $5 flat panel sale."
Right.
Sometimes, right? And if you can afford to have a loss leader, and if you guys actually remember those, I do because I sold TVs in those days, right? There was like 8 of those in the store. And then everybody else that came in got a 20% discount on a great TV at a very much higher price, right? Instead of whatever bargain bin thing they could like stitch together with electronics they found in a garbage dump, right? And give away for $5 as a doorbuster. But discounts, no matter whether we're talking, Scott, about in Q4, we're talking about Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Amazon Day, what was it, the TikTok shops for you day, right? Any of those kinds of things. It doesn't just have to be a discount on price itself. And I think one of the reasons people bring that up is, you know, kind of what Vox brought into it, which was if it's always on a discount, is it ever on discount? Or I don't want to feel like my brand is cheapened, right? And one of the things that people worry about with offering a discount, even if it's a launch discount, is, well, if people see it on sale, then they'll not think that the full price is ever the full price, right? And we're not talking about being like mattress discounters going out of business for the next 45 years or, you know, whatever your local mattress store is doing these days, right? Business going out of business, blowout sale. And that sign's been up there so long that it's faded and you can't even read it anymore. But you have to look at some other things that you can do to increase perceived value, right? Promotion and discounts are 2 different things. You can do a discount. That is one way of doing it. But the other way of looking at this is, how can I give people a great deal? I think bundles was one of the things that you mentioned. If you buy our Le Creuset Dutch oven, you can get the free Le Creuset cookbook, right? giving something in addition, especially if it's a digital product. And we saw somebody having a lot of success with this. I think it was Sherry the other day was talking about, she did this with her email list specifically and said, hey, if you go buy the product that I just launched, I'll send you the digital thing that goes along with it. That allows us to not have to discount, but increase the value and have it be a limited time promotion. I think the other thing that works really well here is time, having it being time bound. And this is something Amazon does really well with Prime Day, because they have not just, hey, it's a 2-day sale, but they also have lightning deals, which is the equivalent of a doorbuster. If you want a discount, you have to not only get it in this time window, but you have to be one of the first 50 people, right? Or the first 20 people to do this. And if you can combine that with even a smaller discount, or the bundle, or any of the other strategies that you can use to increase the perceived value of the product, then you can get away with not having to do a massive discount to compete with these things. I think the other thing, Scott, is you have to make it sexier and sexier and sexier if you're completely dependent on platform-based traffic. So if you are only on Amazon, or you are only on Etsy, or you are only on eBay, and you're relying on the traffic coming from those platforms, then it is a little bit harder to stick out without giving a 90% off discount. If you have, like you were talking about, your own email list, or you're driving external traffic to your website, or you're doing something that's not reliant on somebody scrolling through and saying, hey, 90% off is better than 85% off, so I'm going to go buy that one.
Right.
And that really lets you stand out in the market, and it lets you avoid coming off as cheap or only ever discounting, or any of those concerns that we hear coming up from sellers.
Yep.
The other question I had for you, Scott, and I know it's going to come up if it hasn't come up in the chat already, because it's been coming up since our first Black Friday together in 2015, which is, if we are on platform, we're on Etsy, we're on Amazon, should we be driving traffic on these days? Should we be running our ads on Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Prime Day? And should we be sending our emails on those days as well? What are your thoughts on those two traffic sources on the big sale days throughout the year?
Yeah, I definitely think that we still should be driving the traffic to the platform. And the reason why is because the more sales velocity we can drive through that listing, it's going to only help us rank in search. So a lot of people are like, yeah, but I can save money on fees and I can make a little bit of extra money. And I'm thinking to myself, but you're also sacrificing getting yourself more sales on the platform, which the algorithm sees. And if you think about it, if you sacrifice those fees and you pay those because you're driving people to the platform, well, in the future, now you're going to be ranking getting sales organically for free that you're not paying for. And that's more of a long tail effect. So that's kind of how I look at it, as far as driving the traffic directly to. Now, I would not be driving Facebook ads directly to my shop. I would be putting a landing page in place, meaning you advertise maybe a discount, and then for them to get the discount, you would create a page in Everbee email. That's the one that we use. Build a landing page in there that basically says, get your 20% off discount, enter your name and email address. And then as soon as they do that, they go to a thank you page that would give them a link to your shop and give them the code. And then you would then at least capture the email address in that process, but you're still driving them to the platform. And if you guys are interested in using email for Etsy, as far as building these landing pages, we use Everbee email. We are an affiliate for them, but it's because we use them and we know that they have a great product. So if you want to try that out, you can go to brandcreators.com/Everbee and sign up over there. And you'll also get access to some of their other tools, but they do have a sign up for just email if that's what you're interested in only. So check that out. But yeah, that's what I think, Chris. I think we should be driving there for the long tail effect of the organic.
And I think ads is the one kind of up in the air question, is like, is that money better spent on every other day of the year?
Yeah.
Probably, unless you are doing something aggressively within that platform, right? So if you do have a lightning deal on Amazon, or you are doing a big discount on Etsy, then leave your ads on, because it's just going to create more traffic. If you're selling everything at full price and people aren't going to be clicking on it anyway, or you just want to save that $5, $10, $20 budget for the next day where nobody has anything on sale, by all means, go ahead and do that. But I wouldn't forget about the external traffic. And this is why you and I, Scott, are such big fans of email, because we can turn that on and off whenever we want.
Yep.
I think the other thing people miss out on is the time leading up to that. So if we are platform dependent, we're mostly selling on Etsy or we are selling on Amazon, people forget that you can drive that traffic in advance, improve your rank, and take advantage of the organic side of that, especially if you're looking at something like Etsy Share and Save. And I don't know if you remember off the top of your head what the length of that cookie is, but if you drive somebody to Etsy, right, they give you a percentage of that sale. I think it's 4%. They give you a fee refund.
Yep.
You can drive those people weeks in advance so that when they're in buying mode, they just go back to their favorites. They go back to their cart and they go, now is the time to buy the things that are in my cart. They're going to get whatever's on sale. And they're also going to get whatever else is in their cart, the other things that they've been looking at, because of the perception that it's on sale, whether you're actually giving a doorbuster discount or you're just selling it very close to or at regular price, because it's something they were already interested in. You get a much bigger conversion rate on those days than you would any other time of the year. So if you're worried about your email getting lost on Black Friday, send them an email a couple days in advance, drive them over, get them tagged as that share and save link, and then go from there, right? The same thing would work on your website. The same thing works on Amazon. If we can drive them over early, get them to add it to the cart, get them to look at it, make sure that they're, at the very least, if they're not purchasing, that they're on the fence about it, so that when they are ready to buy all of the things that they're looking at that are on discount, it's that extra thing that they add in, and we can at least take advantage of the traffic. That way, if we're not taking advantage of it with a ton of ads and everything on the day of these big sale events.
Yeah. And I just want to just reiterate what you just said there. So, so people realize too, if you're driving traffic over to your Etsy shop, definitely use your share and save link, because you're going to save your fees there, or a 4% of them. So that's also like another reason why Etsy wants you to send it over there, is because you're driving traffic. So there's just a lot of benefits. They are making it a little more enticing now, because they're going to give you a discount on your fees if you drive the traffic. If you use the link, it's trackable. And I believe it's up to 30 days. It might be 60 days, but I'm pretty sure it's definitely 30 days. So Chris, why don't we do this? Why don't we address some questions if we have any? I think I've starred a bunch here that we can kind of dig into, and then we can wrap this up. This was again, a Friday edition here of our live stream. We figured we would dive into a little bit more of a broader e-commerce topic. And Amazon Prime just happened, and I thought there was a lot of lessons we could learn, and I wanted to know what the numbers looked like, and I knew Chris had them. So here we are. So Chris, let's go ahead and let's look and see what we got here. Let's see. Oh,
so with sales going down, right? Given that we're in July, we're in that slow period of the year that Amazon Prime Day is designed to take advantage of. Is it cost effective to keep adding more product, or should I just work on marketing? Or is the answer a little bit of both?
Probably a little bit of both. I would say don't force the products. Like, don't just slap up products because you're like, someone said you need to slap up 10 products a day. And I know I'll probably get some negative comments by saying slapping up we said that once before, and I got a little negative backlash on that. I don't know why. I'm not like being smart about it, but it was just like not taking the time to create really good products. So like just forcing it. So I wouldn't do that. But what I would say is on the marketing piece, I mean, there's definitely going to be more opportunity in the marketing side of things than just to go and launch a bunch of products. Because at the end of the day, in your niche, you're probably looking at, I would say, max 10 products that are like super high demand. After that, it's going to be filling out your shop with different items that if someone walked into your store and saw them, they would possibly be interested in them. So I would say I would focus probably more on the planning and the marketing side of things once I have my core products in place that I feel like my customer would want, and that also I had good margins on and all of that stuff. But I wouldn't just sit here and just do research after research after research, trying to drum up a handful of more products. I'd rather spend more time on the marketing.
Yeah. And I think especially with this, and he commented later on, he said, everything's made by me. So it's not like I have a large stock of these things. And Scott, I know, that this is one of my favorite Aesop fables, but it makes me think about the grasshopper and the ant, right? Which is that famous like children's story about the grasshopper that does nothing all summer long except party, right? He's out dancing in the summer moonlight, doing all those kinds of things while the ant is storing food away. And when winter comes around, the grasshopper's hungry. The ant says, hey, man, like I did all the work. Why should I give you anything? And in typical children's story format, grasshopper dies, right? Like weird old children's stories, but whatever, right? No happy endings in Aesop fables or what are the Grimm. If you read Grimm's fairy tales, by the way, Scott, they are very grim, for lack of a better word. Like if you read the original ones, like nothing is happy about it. Disney has somehow taken those and made them like happy ending stories, but they're like real dark if you read some of the original ones. But the moral of that story is we have to get ready now, literally for the winter, right? Literally for Q4. And if you have a little bit more time on your hands right now to ramp up the marketing, especially if you're doing something like email list building. I know, Scott, this is something you and I rant about all the time, but we have that extra time right now. Let's start stocking up that food. Let's start stocking up those potential customers for winter when they're more ready to buy and when we don't have as much time to do the marketing side of this. And if we can start building that list now, if we can plan our marketing for Q4 to say, I'm going to do Prime Day 2.0, I'm going to do Black Friday, I'll probably skip Cyber Monday, but I'll just let the sale run through that. If you can have that plan built out now, if you can have your budget set now, and if you can have that email list starting to build now, then you're going to be in a much better place than the people who are worried about launching as many products as possible right now. If that's not something that you can compete with anyway, which in the case of Jack in the Shop wouldn't be, right? Because everything he's doing is custom. So if you have a little bit of extra time in your hands, use that in the wisest way possible. If for you that means adding in a SKU, by all means, go and do it. If you're selling something like print on demand or you want to create some Christmas products, by all means, go and do that. But think about the marketing side of this and the long-term benefits. Because if you spend a little bit of time now building that customer or potential customer list, that will pay dividends, not just in Q4 of this year, but in January, February, March, and all of 2025 and beyond. So anytime we can double down on the marketing side of this, I'm a fan. I know I'm a data nerd. I'm a marketing guy. That's always going to be my default response, but it is the one thing that pays us over and over and over again, even above and beyond creating new products that aren't necessarily tested for us yet.
Yep. I want to throw this out here. Flory says, I actually got 2 items favorited the other day on Etsy, and now I'm wondering if it was because of what you're talking about. And I think what she's saying is that you're getting stuff in there early. And so, yeah, people that might not be ready to buy, but they're going to favorite it. And that's a good sign. So that's also a great way for if you add something new, or if you do something to that listing that they favorited, whether you lower the price, you're running a sale, they'll most likely get notified too. So that's actually a really good thing that happened for you. So congratulations.
Justina said, Scott, in the last year, I've been adding new products, not just slapping stuff up, not random ones, but thought through ones. And I think that is the key to this.
That is the key.
Right? If you don't have an idea of what you should be adding, don't just add a product to add a product. If it's something your market is hungry for, by all means, go add that. And what Justina said is, my sales are up 50%. It's the largest number of products I've added since 2016. That's awesome. At some point, we do want to take the foot off the gas there and focus on the marketing side of things. But if you have those ideas and you're looking at the numbers and the numbers look like they're good, by all means do that, because it's built-in traffic and sales if you are 100%. Platform-based, right? So we got to set that foundation. And I think there's
a difference there, right? And so like, there's a difference in saying like you're adding products that people are actually searching for, or that people would actually want if they saw them in your shop. There's a big difference there than just saying like, I was told that if I add more products, any products, right? They don't even have to be that great. Then Etsy's going to go, oh, we're going to give you more traffic. And that's just not what we're talking about. So that's just wasting time. But if you have a niche and it has a lot of different products that customer could buy, then yeah, by all means, go for it.
Baby Goth Back said, video live stream idea, Scott. Next video, preparing for Christmas, slaying the competition. Anytime we can get a pun in the title, we are fans.
I like that.
And then she said, what about including the discount in the price if you're worried about affording it? And this comes back to the long rants I went on about other ways that you can create more value for customers. What about just including it in the price? It's usually a flag for the sale, right? You're going to get the buyer's attention, and you can do the same thing with free shipping, right? If you're going to charge $5 for shipping, or you need to charge $5 for shipping, increase the price of the product by $5. Is that a good strategy? And do you see that as something that people can get away with, or is there a potential downside to that as well?
No, I mean, anytime you can add free shipping, I think that's going to give you an advantage because you're going to get that little badge and you're going to get that thing that shows up, right? So, yeah, if you can build that in, the problem a lot of times for people is they try to build it in, but then it fluctuates so much and then they end up finding out that they didn't make as much money on that. So that's why the shipping thing becomes an issue. But that's always going to be a conversion mechanism. Whenever you offer free shipping, it's always going to increase your conversions. It's just a matter of like how much of an increase is it going to be, and how much of a nuisance is it for you to keep track of like the different shipping costs?
Yeah, and I think the only place where that can potentially break, and it's something we see people doing when they want to give a 30% discount, they increase the price by 30%, and they go from $50 to $75, and then they discount it back to $50, and everybody else is still at $50, so your discount doesn't really appeal to anybody, right? If you're massively increasing the price or taking yourself well out of range, so if you had to charge $15 for shipping, and you want to include that in the price, and everybody else is selling, let's call it a Sherpa blanket at $50, and you're at 65, even with that free shipping, you potentially are losing a little bit of the conversion rate boost that you would otherwise see from that. So if you're putting yourself out of range, that's the only time where I would say avoid that. And Sherry said, yes, that was me that did the digital product bundle. I just did it again and it worked again, right? We don't have to do discounts. We can include other things of not actual value all the time, but perceived value, right? If we're giving somebody a recipe guide, or we're giving somebody a digital product that they can use with the thing they're just buying, that's something we can, for a one-time cost to us in terms of the development time and the creation, create those things and start to do that. And it will work over and over and over again. And Scott, this is one of the things we did way back in like 2014, 2015 in the Amazon ecosystem, was it, you don't just get this inflatable pillow, you get the inflatable pillow and how to sleep on an airplane guide, right? That strategy has worked forever. It will continue to work, even if you don't think it's a massive value, because you're including something that they can use with the product, or that will increase the enjoyment of the product, or just give them additional ideas. It creates that perception of value. Absolute Freedom said, I just sold the first 2 items on my own website. That's awesome. I used Pinterest ads. Scott, what are your thoughts on Pinterest in general? This is a question we get all the time, but I wanted to ask you after seeing this. Should people be spending time on Pinterest? Have you played with their ads? Do you like the traffic that Pinterest sends generally?
Yeah. I mean, we played with them a little bit, but to be honest with you, we still have room to grow with the internal Etsy ads. And if I was going to go outside of that, Pinterest would be a good one, because I do like Pinterest for products, because people are there searching for product ideas. As far as like, oh, I'm going to be redecorating my room for this, this certain theme, right? I'm going to go cottage core, and they're going to go start looking up that stuff. So I would say, as far as like the heavy marketing side of things there, I would keep it simple and probably just use the built-in, like when you do a listing, you can post a pin, or it creates a pin for you and puts it on there. But hey, if it's working for you, go for it. It's just a matter of like how much time and effort went in for you to get those 2 sales. You know what I mean? Like that's what it comes down to.
I think the other difference is we're driving that to our own site, right? So it's traffic that we can track. We actually understand what the return on investment with that is. If we are platform dependent, we're on Amazon, we're on Etsy. I'm not a fan of driving external traffic directly to those sites for 2 reasons. 1, we can't track the actual return on investment of that ad. And 2, Scott, say it with me now, you can't build your email list if they don't buy the product, right? If we're not buying the product,
there's that.
Then we lose those people completely. If we're driving them to an opt-in, or even if we're driving them to our own website, there's the chance that they see the abandoned cart pop up or the save 20% on your first order and they opt in. If we're driving them to Etsy or to Amazon, if they don't buy immediately, we've lit that $5 on fire, or that $2.50, whatever that cost per click is, that has been lit on fire, and we lose any opportunity to be able to reach back out to that customer. So we're always better off driving that external traffic to our own site, with the exception of what I call free external traffic, which would be email. And if you have a bunch of organic traffic on your website, something like that, we can drive them over without having to worry about losing those people, because they're already on our email list. So if we're driving them to Etsy, it doesn't really affect us one way or the other. It just gives us all of the benefits over on the Etsy platform, versus maybe making a dollar or two more per sale on our own website. We get the long-term or organic benefits of driving it over there. Jessica P. Scott, I'm swamped now. How worried should I be about fourth quarter if I'm already more busy than I want to be right now?
I'd be pretty worried. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I would try to get everything in line right now as far as like, how can you create your process to be a little bit better? How can you fine tune things? Maybe you start looking at your profit margins and saying like, okay, well, I'm not really making as much over here. So I'm going to either raise the price on these and I might sell less, but that's okay. So like now would be the time to start shoring that stuff up. But yeah, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's only going to get better, but worse.
I'd say maybe the only exception to that is, and I can't really tell by her little logo here, but it looks like a fancy flamingo. So if she's selling like a lot of beach related stuff, maybe Q4 will slow down a little bit. You don't sell as many bikinis and swim trunks in December as you do in July. But with the exception of that, right, if you're in a more traditional market, I'd say 85, 90% of businesses are going to start to see traffic, sales, and therefore customer service issues ramp up as well. And Scott, I think that is the thing that a lot of people miss out on. And something we touched a little bit on Wednesday is people think, okay, I have a digital product store, or I have all my designs up. All I have to do is fulfill orders, and I have Printify set to just auto print everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have everything set up. There's nothing for me to worry about. Well, there still is, because shipments get lost. People miss emails, right? People miss their notification from Etsy about their download link, all of those things. And when you have more traffic, you have more sales. You also have more problems. So if that is something you hate right now, you're going to have to do a little bit more of it. And if it's something you want to bring in somebody to help with, now would be the time to start considering that. Before you get to mid-October, nobody's looking for any additional work. And you now have 5 times as many customer service messages, whether they're problems or just people missing their tracking information, whatever that is. All of that is going to ramp up along with the money that you're making. But we have to consider that as well. It gets overwhelming, Scott, hearing about all of the Q4 marketing prep. But if I take the time now to decide our strategy before the craze of the season, it does reduce my stress about it. And I think that is really the model that you and I are talking about right now, which is like, what can we learn from Amazon, from Prime Day, now that we're in the middle of July? And how can we apply that to the craziness that is going to be coming up here in just a few weeks, right? We're in the middle of July already. I'm not sure how that happened, but pretty soon we're going to be the whole way through August. And middle of September really is when the Q4 stuff starts to ramp up, and it's just going to get higher and higher until we get a couple weeks before Christmas. What is the most attractive thing for customers in the footer of your listing? Free shipping in 24 carts or 25% off? What do you think, Scott, would call out more to customers who are on the fence about buying, which I think is what Janae is asking about there?
I mean, that's really just a tough question. I mean, you really can't really put a finger on it. It's like, if I'm looking at something and I see 25% off, but I got to pay for shipping, I'm probably going to still buy it. If something is 25% higher without a discount and I'm getting free shipping, it doesn't make me feel as special of a thing, right? Like, but if you can combine the two, now we're talking like next level. But then again, like you have to have the margins to be able to do it. So, I mean, I'll give you an example. Like, I'm kind of into this new brand called No Bull, and, they're sending me stuff all the time. And, if they're not giving me a discount on the sneakers and they're just offering free shipping, I'm probably not going to be as motivated to buy. But if they give me something with a discount and I still have to pay $14 for shipping, I'm probably going to I'm going to feel more motivated. Just recently, I mean, their sneakers are about $150 average. And they just sent something out, get 2 pair for $222. And I was like, okay, I'm going to talk to my wife. I'm going to say, you pick a pair, I'm going to pick a pair. But if they just said, hey, this month we're offering free shipping and there's no discount, I'm not doing it. So just to kind of give you like my thinking in real time.
Well, and I think you're in line with the average, Scott. And I know we haven't dropped all the data from the Etsy buyer survey, but I was playing around with it yesterday. And 86% of people, if you guys are hanging out with us right now, you're getting a little nugget ahead of time. 84%, not 86%. I don't want to exaggerate here too much. Said they're still likely to purchase a product, even if they had to pay a reasonable amount for shipping, right? What is a reasonable amount? $4, $5, $6 in most cases is considered to be a reasonable amount. I know we usually stick around like $4.95 or $5 flat rate shipping, something like that in most of the brands that I've worked with. And we haven't noticed any change in conversion rate, because if people really want the thing, then they do that. And in fact, Scott, I had a customer conversation the other day in one of the e-commerce brands that I work with. And the guy said, hey, how much do I have to order to get free shipping? I said, hey, we actually don't do free shipping, but if you buy 2 or 3 things, you get a percentage discount. And if you notice, the shipping is $5 flat rate shipping, right? It doesn't matter how much you buy, you pay $5 for it. So you actually save more. If you add even 2 things to your cart, you'll save more than what you're paying in shipping. And he was like, that's really cool, right? It's all about how it's presented. It's not necessarily that shipping is an objection for people. That to me would probably be the least sexy of those things. The discount is probably going to be the biggest thing. And then especially if there's a timer attached to that, hey, this 25% discount is going away in the next 12 hours, you have to make the decision at that point. Janae said there was there's a bunch of those things, and Etsy has to figure out how to prioritize which ones they show. At this point, they seem to just be showing everything, right? So they're showing as many of those things as they possibly can because they know that each of those has a small incremental effect. If I had to pick one, I'd say the discount with the timer is going to be the most effective, even over and above. I don't care how many other people want the product, right? There could be 5 million people that have it in their cart, but if it's still available for me to buy, then it doesn't really matter, right? If it says 1 left, that's a different conversation, even from the number of people have this in their cart. Am I missing anything there, Scott?
No, I think you did good. Awesome. Carlo had a question here. Let's pop this one up real quick. Please explain what gift mode is. I mean, can't everything be considered a gift? Wrap it up, put a bow on it, poof, it's a gift. What differentiates gift mode and a listed product? I think just the obvious, right? Like yes, you're right. Anything could be, like this giant water bottle could be a gift for someone that's into working out, right? But I think it's more of like what is like personalized is kind of more in line with the gifts that you're giving someone. So, and I don't mean it can only be that, but I'm just saying like when you personalize something, there's a pretty good intent to give that to someone as a gift. But I would say what the gift mode is doing is it's trying to, number one, let you know that Etsy is the place to go to buy gifts for people. Number two, it's a way to organize products that are giftable. And then the third thing is for us sellers, by us letting the Etsy algorithm know that ours could be given as a gift, then it can then get put into the catalog or the gift mode catalog. So that way there we can be discovered. So I hope that answers your question. Yes, you're right. Anything could be considered a gift, but what is really like, I have this mixing thing for my audio over here. Am I going to buy that for a gift? There might be 1 out of 1,000 that buy that as a gift for someone that's going to be a podcaster. Right. But for the most part, you're not going to personalize that mixer and, do all that stuff. But this, if we had a way to, maybe personalize it with your name, something like that, then this becomes a gift. So that's kind of how I would probably demonstrate that.
Would you say that this is a gift?
That's a gift. I put Chris on the other side. I put Chris is bald, just like that avocado.
It's almost like that avocado is not bald. That avocado is follically challenged. I think Sherry just put this in a really interesting way, Scott. She said, gift mode is basically a strategic search engine within Etsy, right? And what you and I have been calling it, Etsy's calling it AI. What you and I have been calling it is a filter, right? Because that's what it is. And it's just a way for them to not have buyers have to search and put in the exact right keyword. It lets them create a tailored search experience by saying, hey, does this person like this thing, or this thing, right? Kind of like going to the eye doctor, right? Is this more in focus or is this more in focus? It's the same thing. And just by clicking the button, Etsy's automatically applying those filters for you. Now, as far as what's featured in gift mode, if it's personalizable, customizable, or you're using gift for in your tags, it doesn't have to be in your title, but anywhere in that description, right? Great gift for Mother's Day, great gift for Christmas. You can add those things into your tags. You have a chance of being shown in that super filtered result that they are doing. But I wouldn't expect that to be the make or break for you showing up in gift mode. If we focus on good SEO best practices, right? Having human readable titles, having good product descriptions, and if it is a giftable item, right? Like I think the mixture would be a good thing. If we put that in the tags of that would be a weird thing to do. If we put, great gift for Chris Schaefer or great gift for avocado lovers somewhere in that listing, it would make sense. So just do what makes sense for your listing. Etsy's going to show you in the place that makes the most sense for you. Yeah,
someone just in the chat, I think Baby Got Back said someone was looking for this. So yeah, if you guys are interested in having your shop audited, if you're on Etsy, we're talking to Etsy people right now, and you wanted us to potentially audit it in the future, we do those every Thursday. We do have a list. We also prioritize our Backstage Pass Club members. So you can go to brandcreators.com/audit. You can submit the information there. There's no guarantees that we will get to it. If you want a higher chance of us, because we have a list inside of a list of our audits. And if you'd like to become part of our Backstage Pass Club for brand creators, but it's for our shop audits, you can just go to brandcreators.com/club, and you can get the details over there. There's a little video that I shot sharing and demonstrating what we do there. So there you go on that. And the last thing, Chris, I would say too, we're running out of time here, but we did want to just say, like, you can see a lot of what we've talked about today is like preparing, planning, and then using your own methods of driving traffic. And the way that we feel is the most dependable, there's no algorithm to it, is really email. Okay. And again, if you would like to learn how to create your own email list or build your own email list and then send emails, we did put together a guide, a pretty extensive guide. It's our email marketing playbook. If you would like a copy of that, just in the comments, put email, and we'll make sure that we send you a copy of that. All right. Because email is a big, big driver in any business that we've ever built. Email has always been a traffic source for us and one of the more dependable ones. And so I can't say enough about it, but it's just something that I think everyone should be taking advantage of. And everyone that is here that is an Etsy seller, you're going to be having a great opportunity coming up with all these new customers that are going to be coming through, because you're going to have an opportunity in that first message that gets sent out on your behalf through your Etsy account. You're going to be able to thank them for their order, let them know that you're in the process of putting it together and getting it ready to ship. And then, oh, by the way, here's how you can join our VIP club and get exclusive discounts and our giveaways and things like that, right? And then you can just drop the link there. We've talked about that here on this channel, but that is something that you want to start taking advantage of. Or even if you're on Amazon, if you have a way to send a message to someone and drive them to a landing page to get them to sign up for your VIP club, that is something I would get ready like ASAP, like now. All right. So Chris, anything that I left out that we wanted to cover here before we sign off here today?
I think that was it. Jessica was asking, Scott, can we do a business side Etsy shop audit and talking about business organization? I think, Jessica, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we just did a shop audit with you, but what I would say is in our next session, which Scott and I are going to be announcing shortly, we were talking about it this morning. Yeah. If you ask some of those questions, we can definitely drop those in between some of those audit sessions. It should be a fairly straightforward thing, and it's probably useful for that group. So if you have any of those types of questions, let me know, and we can schedule that kind of in between, as we're doing all of the things we do in between audits, which only the Backstage Pass members know about, like showing off new puppies and some of those kinds of things.
Yeah, we've done that. All right, cool. So yeah, that's going to wrap it up for today, guys. This is a little ECOM news, a little Amazon Prime, but also some lessons learned by what these big platforms are doing, and what can we learn and what can we do internally to help us build our own little marketing engine and our own little Prime days within our own business. So hopefully this has helped you. Let us know in the comments if you guys have any other any things that you would like us to talk about or to discuss. If you get any news, make sure that you send it to us, support@brandcreators.com, because these Fridays are going to be most likely more e-commerce news and more broad. All right. So with that all being said, guys, thank you so much. Have a great weekend, and we will see you on the next session. Take care.